Welcome to the Confidence in You podcast, designed to help you build confidence and create positive, lasting change in your life. And here's your host, 𝗤𝗏𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒐𝒖�.
Hi, just a quick note before we get started today. If you would like to watch today's episode, please head across to my YouTube channel, 𝗤𝗏𝒏𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒈. Otherwise, just keep listening. Here it comes now.
Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're joined by the wonderful Angela Louise. Angela is a trauma-informed facilitator, coach and healer with a passion for supporting women that are mamas and mamas-to-be. She helps them reclaim their voice, heal themselves, and cultivate more nurturing relationships with themselves, their partners, their creations, and their kids. Angela believes that not only those who birth a child are a mother, because sometimes we birth ideas, creations, empires, or a new version of ourselves. And Angela believes that women deserve to create, live, and lead from a full cup. And that is why she does what she does. It's such a pleasure to have you, Angela, join us today, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Your journey is an interesting one, coming from a teaching background into coaching. Can you tell us how that evolved and how you got to where you are now?
Yeah, I think I've always had a passion for working with children, and I've always believed that I'm an advocate for children. And so I started out as a teacher, straight out of college. I went off to overseas to a boarding school, and I was working as a boarding house assistant, and then came back and did my teaching degree. And I was really passionate when I was in the classroom about understanding children and their behaviours and supporting them on a deeper level, more so with their happiness. I think I was a little bit more passionate about why children weren't learning and why there were so many unhappy children in the classroom and on the playground. And it really piqued my interest. And so I started teaching meditation and mindfulness practices in the classroom and going on many different courses. And eventually I started to see the change in the children that were doing the meditation and also yoga in the classroom as well. And I noticed that they were able to focus better, they were able to learn more. And so I decided that I would actually leave teaching, and I created my own yoga and mindfulness business in schools. And so that program is still running in schools today. I don't teach it myself, I have contractors. But the difference that yoga and mindfulness was making to children's lives was just phenomenal. Seeing children happier, seeing them be able to regulate their emotions, seeing them be able to relate better with other children. It was just really quite profound. And also the other driver, I guess, to heading towards coaching for me was seeing myself sitting before and after school with the parents. And I started to think, who helps these parents?
Yeah.
Like no one's helping the parents. And so I was supporting mums a lot, and I started actually coaching children. So I started coaching children before I started coaching adults. And when I was coaching children and supporting them, I realized they'd go back into the home and maybe the change wasn't permanent or the change wouldn't last. And that's because really the parents were the people that needed the help.
Yeah.
And so this was about 5 years ago when I developed a program for parents, and I started running group coaching programs for parents. And then I started attracting actually a lot of adult clients. And I was thinking, I don't work with adults. I'm an advocate for children. Why am I helping all of these adults? And I realized it was the inner child within the adults that I ended up working with a lot.
Yeah.
So that's the very basic version of where I've come from and where I am now. There's, obviously I've had my own healing journey along the way that ran parallel to that, where I explored yoga, energy work, mindfulness, meditation, doing a 12-month coaching certification, moving through Emma Romano's Family Freedom Protocol qualifications, and learning about past lives and all of the different ways in which we can heal and support others to heal.
Yeah. I can see on your website and on your Insta page, you create some amazing programs and workshops. Can you tell us about how you work with your clients and how what you do is different?
Yeah, I used to do one-off sessions for clients. You know, they'd come to me with one challenge or one problem, and we could make a lot of ground in that one session. However, what I found was that people really needed to understand that healing is a lifelong journey.
Yes.
And so working with people on a one-off occasion wasn't working. And so I started to work with people longer term. So now I work with clients one-to-one in either a 4-month container or a 6-month container. And it's not so much just the sessions that we're working with. There's the whole education platform, because I believe people get to take their power back and to reclaim their power through education and knowledge, and then being supported through embodiment as well. So my clients and I have a very deeply, closely connected relationship where we are in contact throughout, in between the sessions as well, not just turning up on a session. And what I've found is, you know, being that regulated nervous system on the end of the phone for someone when they need, you know, that extra support or guidance. My clients will send through a message into our message thread, and I'm able to be there to support and guide them. And so working with them one-to-one, I find over a longer time has created more embodiment and deeper, long-lasting change. I've also found the power in actually working in group containers as well, though. So working with women, particularly in a group together, is incredibly healing because obviously we all have a lot of you know, sister wounds and comparison and judgment and rejection. And I think that it's really powerful bringing women together to work together in a container over a long period of time. I think it was about 7 years ago that I first stepped into a women's circle. And so I was journeying through a women's circle myself for 7 years, every single Monday. The change that I had in that time was phenomenal. Just being seen and being heard and being witnessed and learning how to lean into vulnerability and open up in that way. So that led me to creating the group programs as well, because I could see that they offer a different type of healing than one-to-one.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I have the group program Reclaimation, which is for women, and it is a program where we journey to reclaiming your power, reclaiming your voice, and learning how to speak your truth, and also remembering who you are. So a lot of peeling back of all the layers and all of the conditioning and deep healing work, which occurs through a retreat, a ceremonial retreat, as part of that container. And then we do a lot of integrating afterwards as well.
Fantastic. So you work with them in the sessions, they do homework in the middle, and then you have the ceremonial weekend as well. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a very intense program. We do a lot of journeying through the shadows. So we do journey through the dark just to be able to retrieve what we need to come back into the light to create that expansion. And yeah, it's done so with a lot of compassion and understanding and support.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. So with all of the things that you've done, and you've done so many things in the last 7 years since you left teaching, what would you say has been your biggest accomplishment to date?
This is a tricky question because I feel that there are so many. I want to talk about all of the clients that I've supported. You know, I've helped clients that haven't been able to fall pregnant. I've helped people to overcome addictions, leave toxic relationships, go on a self-love journey to then be able to attract their ideal partners and relationships, helping parents to heal their own inner child issues that they're seeing come up within their children and being mirrored back to them. But really, I think my greatest accomplishment is my own healing journey myself.
Yeah.
Being able to really know what it feels like to be able to heal ourselves and to break through all those barriers and those challenges. I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, at a young age, and I saw many, many different psychologists, and I was given medication, and I truly didn't believe that that was the answer. So being able to do my own deep healing and come to a place where I can now make an impact in the world and share my gifts and my wisdom and knowledge and practices and tools with other people to see them be able to go on that journey themselves. I feel like that's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. And our own healing, you know, it's on different levels. Myself, you know, you face into something and you clear that, and you can come out into the light. And then, you know, you're stepping it up to the next thing, and it's like, okay, I've got the next one to do, and I've got to clear that as well. So it's a continual thing that we need to do, and it's finding the space and honouring ourselves to give ourselves permission to be able to do that with other women and be able to support each other is really powerful.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely layer upon layer.
So you've obviously worked, like you just said, you worked with so many people to heal relationships and to find themselves. What would you say is the best feedback you've received from a client, or the most memorable shift a client has had that you've helped them make? Because, you know, people who couldn't get pregnant, getting pregnant, leaving toxic relationships, all of the things that you've said are so amazing. Is there one that really stands out, or?
Yeah, there is actually. There is a client that I worked with who, when I started working with her, she had a really big resistance towards other women. And she didn't like women. She couldn't own her own femininity. She rejected herself as a woman. And being able to support her on that journey, it was a really big, deep journey with a lot of resistance.
Yeah.
But getting to the core of where that came from and helping her to actually fully own who she is as a woman, to feel safe to connect with other women and to actually really enjoy being in a retreat space with other women is like, that was just phenomenal. I had tears in my eyes when I, you know, witnessed her transformation and her sharing that she's proud to be a woman. She's happy to be a woman.
Yeah.
And just seeing the softening that took place within her as well was so beautiful and powerful. Because I believe women are really powerful.
Yeah, well, we are. But we're in such a male-dominated world, and that masculine energy that is around us, and us being busy and running and always being in that space and not allowing that time for us to soften and appreciate our femininity and to tap into our intuition. You're very much in alignment with your intuition. I can see that in your posts on Instagram and how you come through and you share stories on your pages and things like that. Tell us a little bit more about that femininity, that masculine feminine energy.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I think it has a lot to do with society's programs and the programming that we receive when we're younger. And I love my mother dearly. However, my mother, through her own traumas and her own experiences in life, developed a very strong masculine energy. So I refer to that as our yang energy. And so my mum was very go, 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 get things done. She was really strong, and she was a single parent. So she took on that role of the male and the female in the house, and she needed to do everything. And so I think she was, you know, always in that logical mind and problem solving and, getting things done. And there wasn't much time for rest for her. And so this was the modeling in which I received and what I saw. And I think it was very against my natural nature to be that way. But it also is a form of protection mechanism, right? So while we're, you know, in that space, then we're kind of not softening and we're not allowing anyone in. And so I think that masculine energy can be a protective coping mechanism. And I took that on. And so that's how I grew up living. I was very in my masculine. I was at the gym twice a day and I was always pushing and achieving and striving. And I didn't really have very much spare time at all in my day. I'd be up at 5:30 and I'd be at the gym, and then I'd be off to teaching for 12 hours a day. And teaching in itself is quite a masculine job, because you're giving all of that energy all the time and you're always in your mind. And what that led to for me was burnout and adrenal fatigue. I ended up with chronic fatigue, and I ended up very sick and in hospital, and I had many health challenges. And so I think the shift that occurred for me was learning about the yin energy and learning about the feminine. And for me, that required learning how to safely feel, because our emotions are a part of that feminine energy. And I didn't know how to feel. I wasn't taught how to be with my emotions or how to regulate my nervous system. I had stopped trusting my intuition because when I was younger, I was highly psychic. I saw spirits, and when I shared that, the voices in my head said this, or that I could see this little girl, it scared people, and I got told that I may have schizophrenia, and so I shut that down. So I shut my gifts down.
Protection.
A lot of protection, yeah. So I didn't want to have to deal with my intuition. So I started listening to what other people said. And what do you think I should do? And I didn't trust myself. And so it's been a real journey for me in slowing down, creating space to feel, creating space to tap into my femininity and my creativity, and learning to trust myself. And through doing all of those things on quite a long journey, hasn't happened overnight, I feel more myself than I've ever felt. And I have so much space, because I think we're told a bit of a lie that busy equals success.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't equal success.
To me, busy equals burnout.
Yes.
And I think we can be a lot more time efficient, and, we can build really successful businesses and still be really abundant and have a lot of space. I make sure that I have a couple of hours each morning now where I could just be in that free-flowing energy, and I can do all my practices to bring me into connection with my heart and my intuition and feel anything that needs to be felt in order to set me up for my day.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of mums that struggle with this concept in the beginning. But once they start to prioritize their self-care and their nourishment and themselves, they have a far greater capacity to hold their children in their emotional meltdowns.
Yeah.
If the mum is able to really regulate her nervous system, then and be in her feminine and really feel her own feelings, then when the children are having meltdowns, she's able to hold that compassionate space so much more. It's really powerful, and it does require, I think, a lot of learning to communicate and ask for help and ask for support.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get, partners on board or communities on board. I work with a lot of single mums, and so we get really, really creative in ways in which they can nourish themselves and be more in their flow, as opposed to needing to be so rigid all the time. There's definitely a place for structure. There's definitely a place for the masculine. But I think in softening into that feminine, that's where the healing takes place.
Yeah. And if we're in a heightened state, and the child goes into a meltdown or has a bad day or comes home from school and is not in the right state themselves, we're not able to respond to them. So we react from that, I don't have time, space. And I know when I used to work in corporate and I was really busy, sometimes if someone interrupted me, I would be quite short and snappy with them. And I learned to acknowledge and catch it and stop that. But it's because I was busy being successful at work that then I realised that if I actually plan my day and I take breaks in between meetings and I schedule that into my diary and block it out, it's amazing how much more you're able to deal with what's coming at you, either in a work sense, or as a parent. I'm not a parent, but I have got a great niece that I'm looking after. She's 1, so I'm going through all of that now. And I had her this morning, so I blocked out my diary. So, you know, her mums were away. One was at work and one had to go and do something. So I had her until 11:30 this morning, and it was the most beautiful time that we got to connect and be and enjoy rather than me trying to have to work or do other things. Yeah. But it's taken me a long time to be able to honour myself and create time and space in my diary. And the world wants us to be busy. You know, how do you have time to have a coffee for yourself or go for a walk or sit on the beach? But we need that, particularly people who are single mums. I see them and I work with them as well, in that the demands are so great and the societal expectations on a single mum as well, even more important for them to connect and reclaim their power. So your program of allowing them that space on a regular basis and having that touch point with you and that safety of other people going through it with them at the same time, I'm sure that I know from my experience, they build strong bonds and connections because of that shared experience. And women's circles are the same. So creating that space and allowing them to tap in and honour themselves is really, really powerful, the work that you're doing. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll add that I know I've spoken a lot about the reclamation container for women as well. I've actually been running programs for parents where it's aimed at mothers, but they get to bring their partners along as well. So this is the program that I run, Conscious Parenting. And I've found that's really, really powerful. And the shift that I've seen happen in the past 5 years is that I now have, 6 out of the 12 people are dads. So I've got an equal ratio of mums and dads both coming together. And the power in that is that they're able to get on the same page in their parenting. Yeah. And so I've really seen this beautiful shift in parents wanting to come together and to understand their parenting, because everyone comes from different backgrounds, right? So we all have different conditioning and we all have different experiences. So we all do have different values and belief systems. And so getting on the same page is so powerful because it allows for that support. It allows for a mother to express what she actually needs, and for a father to express what's going on for him. Because I think often there's not been time or maybe even the skills or the strategies on how to communicate that.
Yes.
So, both parents having their needs met allows them both to have a full cup and to be able to then nourish the family and be present with the children as well.
Yeah. And I would imagine that shared experience of understanding each other better would create for a calmer home environment because they're understanding and coming at it from we're doing this together rather than, well, I always have to bath the kids or drop them off or whatever it might be. And I know that I've heard from dads that they feel left out because the mum's focused so much on the baby, or same-sex couples, the partner is focused so much on the baby and the nurturing because they're the ones that are doing the breastfeeding or the bottle feeding if it's two males. And then the other one feels left out, but then the one doing all of that feels left out as well because the relationship has got strained because there's a baby in the house. But the baby doesn't come with a manual. So you can't look up what should I do now. So your program of conscious parenting, I can see how valuable that would be for parents of children at any age.
Yeah, it is aimed at children of really most ages. I do have, I think some of the children are as young as sort of 1.5 to 2, all the way up to sort of 12 or 13. But the basis is, I guess, also learning to understand your triggers as a parent.
Yeah. And
that happens at any age. I think I still trigger my mum at 38.
Yes. So the work you're doing with reclamation of self for women and then the conscious parenting just sounds amazing. The podcast is about confidence and helping people build their self-esteem. So what's the best advice or a tip that you could give someone who doesn't have clarity, they're facing a setback, or they're just lacking confidence or not sure of themselves? What's a piece of advice you could give?
Well, firstly, I think with the setbacks, I don't believe that we have setbacks. I'm quite a spiritual person, so I believe that we're gifted opportunities, as uncomfortable as some of them might feel and confronting and daunting. I see them all as opportunities for growth. And so we are never given anything in life that we can't handle. It may feel like we can't, but I feel like we're given opportunities for growth and understanding ourselves more. So a really big challenge for me is like a really big opportunity for a massive breakthrough. And that's how I see things. And then getting the right support to help you through those challenges will help you to get to the other side. Because I don't believe that we're here to do it on our own. I believe that those times are way gone and that support's available. So get the right support to move you through the challenge, to get the breakthrough so that you can grow and evolve as a human. Because after all, I believe that that's why we're here. We're souls here evolving and growing through the human experience. And that means we get all of the different flavors of life, not just the joyful and bright and happy ones. There's so much power in the darkness and in the challenges as well. And in regards to, I guess, having more confidence, firstly, I would always suggest a client look back at why they don't have confidence in the first place. So what's happened in your childhood where you haven't built self-esteem? What's gone on in the childhood home? What's happened at school? What's happened in your relationships as a child? What were the foundations and what's the conditioning there? And without blame, because again, I believe we're given everything that we need in order to heal and become our best versions of ourselves. But going back and getting curious and inquiring about, well, what's happened? Where have these thoughts about myself come from? Where is this criticism? Where is this lack of confidence actually come from? And learning how to reparent that part of your psyche, that part of yourself. So learning how to reconnect with your inner child and meet your inner child's needs, because I know sometimes we can get really frustrated with ourselves, you know, when something comes up, or, you know, oh, that thing, I just want to clear it, or I want to fix it, or I want to change it. Where I actually believe the path to healing is bringing compassion and love to that part of yourself, because it's trying to get your attention. So that little girl or that little boy within you is screaming out for your help. It's wanting you to acknowledge and recognize them and meet their needs. So I think doing that can help you to regain the confidence in yourself, and then setting small goals, small achievable goals that are aligned to your values, and taking small steps. I think that the small steps are what create the big wins. It's not the big steps or the big leaps. I think the small
That's wonderful advice. I think you've touched on a lot of things there. It's understanding what is causing me to think this way about myself is really powerful. And quite often we don't stop and think about that because we're busy in life. And we're not honouring ourselves because we've got that thought process that's been embedded in us from something that's happened in our past that is probably telling us we don't deserve. So, you know, going back and understanding, where did this come from? And is it mine or is it someone else's? And then being able to ask for help, whether that be friends, counsellors, coaches, people like you and me, but asking for help and reaching out, because I agree we're not meant to do this on our own. And we are meant to connect as humans and to help and support each other. And that asking for help, I think, is a really powerful, powerful piece of advice. So thank you. So that's all I've got for today. You've shared some amazing things with us. So where can people find you, Angela?
You can find me on my Instagram account, which is Angela Louise Tonkin. I'm under Angela Louise on Facebook. My email address is connect@theheartofliving.com.au, and my website is theheartofliving.com.au.
Great. And I will put all of those things in the show notes so people can just click on it and find you. And thanks for being with us today. And we look forward to seeing all of the wonderful work that you're continuing to do.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye.